explain, Leigh-Anne actually gave me my first Qi treatment many years ago in a yoga festival in Reading. And I think meeting Leigh-Anne and having such an immediate connection with you, Leigh-Anne, and really understanding this practice that we do, which is working with Qi, the vibration of life, and clearing karma and making the most beautiful connection with the universe. Leigh-Anne inspired me so much. I saw her really giving up her life for people and giving this energy to people so happily and so selflessly. And I think that was what made me want to do this work. So it's such an honor to have you here with us today and to really receive your wisdom. You've been doing this for nearly 20 years, is that right?
Yeah, I think it's about 18 years now. So quite a while.
Wow. Yeah. So I'd love to start by just asking you a bit. We're going to focus on working with Qi, but also ancestor healing in particular today, and how that practice has transformed your life and transformed the lives of others. But I'd love to know a little bit about what your life was like growing up, and how you found, how you knew that you needed to find a spiritual path.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town in England, around Gloucestershire, and life was quite rural and very normal UK upbringing. And I think from a young age I was quite happy and happy-go-lucky, enjoyed school, enjoyed friendships, and then I went to secondary school, and it was around the age of about 13 or 14 that I started to find focusing a lot more difficult. Life suddenly became more complicated, of course, as a teenager, and I think certain experiences that brought up a lot more emotion. But suddenly I had this feeling of, I couldn't focus so well in classes at school. But at the same time, I remember having this immense curiosity about life and the existence of life. And I always remember as a young kid looking outside my bedroom window and just thinking, what's out there, looking up at the sky across all the housetops, but thinking, what is out there? Is there a God? What is the source of life, from a really, really young age? And it wasn't something I could really talk to people about. I did go to a kind of Catholic school as a young girl, so there was a certain element of religion. But in my family, there wasn't much scope for talking about life and death and the invisible world. So it was a deep curiosity from a young age. And then, of course, life went by, and I ended up working in the travel industry and spent a lot of time on airplanes, flying on long-haul flights. And before I started that job, my health wasn't too bad. I used to like to try and keep fit and eat quite well. But I found as I was traveling more and more and more, my energy levels were getting lower and getting lower and getting lower. And I started to eat all the wrong foods to try to replenish my energy levels.
Which I think so many people have done, I think, going down that. It's not good for you, but you're just desperate to try and reach for it, right?
Yeah, it's like survival. You're just trying to get something to keep you going. And I did that for a number of years as a flight attendant. At the same time, I was loving travel, loving seeing the world, and really wanting to find my purpose. And I always felt, we're here for a reason. And I always wanted to understand, where do we come from originally? What's the origin of our life? And what happens at the end of our physical life? So these questions were still going around in my head. And as much as I was searching for a kind of purpose, I was also really aware that, oh gosh, I'm not in a very good condition. I really need to do something to look after myself and try to get my energy levels back again.
What were your kind of symptoms when you knew your health was declining? What sort of things were happening physically, mentally, emotionally for you?
So I had, I just would be bloated. I'd feel really bloated every time I ate. Even if I ate a healthy salad, I would feel really bloated. I had a lot of sciatica, so like hip pain and burning pain down the sides of my legs. I'd get a lot of lower back pain. So every time, I'd lie down at night time and my back would be throbbing. And I think just low energy was the symptom that was troubling me the most. So I had, we went on adventures. I had a very dear friend who we actually trained in the airline industry together, and we also had very similar interests. So we love travel, and we were both looking into more alternative therapies. And I started trying, yoga and Pilates and Chinese herbs, acupuncture, Qigong classes. And then we met these really incredible Shaolin monks in London, in Brixton, who a lot of people have come across now. So we started doing, different types of exercise, but with a spiritual element, trying to find, answers to the deeper questions that we both had.
And then how did you find this practice? And tell me your journey in finding this practice and the changes you began to encounter.
So we were kind of had an idea that, yes, let's do something to help the world. Let's do something to help people. We both had this feeling of we need to contribute to the world in some way, but ideally in a very exotic and beautiful location. That was the goal, to find, a beautiful place to live. And I'd been in London about 5 years, and I was really ready to leave London. I didn't want to stay anymore. I wanted to get out into nature. And so we were looking at, where should we go? What should we do? And then one day I had a day off of work, and I went to a health exhibition or a healing arts exhibition in London. And it was an incredible day. I remember just thinking, okay, what am I going to do today? I have to find something. And I went to the newsagent across the road and bought a Time Out magazine. And the page literally fell open on this events page. And I saw Healing Arts exhibition in Victoria in London. And I decided, okay, I'll go along. And I started looking around. And there were so many different things. I had a blood test. I chanted with Hare Krishnas. I quite a few, I dabbled in a few things, but nothing, was really grabbing me. Nothing felt quite right. And then I heard this sound, a very loud sort of whooshing sound, and it really caught my attention. So I followed the sound and made my way across the hall, and I could see these practitioners giving some sort of treatment. And I saw the girl on the front desk who just looked incredibly bright. I could see this sort of light coming off of her eyes. And I'd been looking around at all the practitioners at the show, and everybody looked quite tired. Everybody looked quite tired. I didn't feel anyone was exuding happiness or really enticing me to go and find out more. So this is the stand that really stood out for me. So I decided, okay, I'll try one of these, unusual treatments with sound and acupressure. And after the first treatment, it was quite painful. Everything was really sore in my body. So I was quite surprised actually at how tender everything felt. But then after the treatment, I walked outside, and I remember looking up at the sky. It was a really sunny day, and the leaves on the trees were so defined and so clear. Everything looked sharper. I could see number plates on cars from a much further distance. And I remember walking home with this skip in my step, just feeling a lightness that I hadn't felt for a long, long time. So I knew, okay, this is something different. There's something here for me, and I need to have more of this, definitely. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so what would you say your life is like? Obviously, it's a long time ago that you did this practice of ancestor healing. Do you want to explain a little bit about your journey to do ancestor healing, what the practice was and what it contains, and how your life changed and is different now from before?
So I had a few energy treatments, and with the energy treatments, my energy levels were just kind of going up and up and up. And I heard about the classes. So I started doing these energy classes with movements, meditation, and chanting. And again, my life just started to feel more nourished. I would travel for 14 hours on a flight, and I would have energy at the end of the flight. So it was very tangible that there was physically something happening, and some positive changes. I then heard about ancestor healing, and as soon as I heard about ancestor healing, I felt this excitement, like my heart was skipping, and I was so interested. Someone was telling me about the things that I'd been longing to hear, and I had a consultation with Emily, practitioner who runs the London Centre, and she told me all about ancestor healing and how the thing that I took away from it was, well, I can do this to help myself. I can do this to help my family, and I can do this to help my ancestors. So my family members who passed away, but because of them, I'm here. So I understood that ancestor healing was a practice to really say thank you. You know, thank you for life. Thank you for everything that I've received, and something that could be transformative for my life to help me regain my clarity. I think I felt a lot of foggy-headedness, and I knew there was a direction in life waiting for me, but I felt like there were blockages. There was something that was preventing me from getting to where I wanted to be. And I made a decision, yes, absolutely, I wanted to do ancestor healing. So I started the ceremonies, and I hadn't seen anything like it before. It was a really beautiful scene. The training room in the center, it's so bright. It's a tangible energy. You can feel it. And I remember walking in and feeling a sense of peace. Just this peace came over me. And Master O was leading the ceremony, and he was meditating when I walked into the room. And it felt.
Do you want to tell people who Master O is briefly?
Sure. Yes. Yeah. So Master O, he brought this method over from South Korea around 35 years ago to the Western world. So he left Korea at quite a young age, not speaking a word of English and hardly a penny in his pocket, but with a really beautiful intention to bring this technique and method to people all around the world. And he started in Australia and then traveled to numerous countries and ended up in the UK, which is where I met him. And I would say, he's an extraordinary person. There is nothing ordinary about him. I think his life from a young age, he had so many experiences that showed he was being guided on a path to do work for humanity. And I first met him, and I felt, gosh, who is this person? He's very mysterious, but very sweet and extremely wise. And through the practice, he has built a connection to, I would say, the universal mind. And through that connection, he is now able to transmit energy through the treatments and classes and through the ancestor healing. But he's now doing a lot of work online. So he's doing weekly broadcasts to share energy with people all around the world. And especially in the time of the pandemic, to help people just receive something to create more peace, more happiness, more positivity. So people can check him out on his Facebook page, Instagram page.
Yeah,
find more and see what he does.
He's a big inspiration to all of us practitioners, isn't he? And his absolute dedication to just helping people non-stop, day in, day out. But I was interrupting your story. So you said you went into the meditation room and he was leading the ceremony for your ancestor healing.
Yeah, and I remember just feeling, this sense of peace and a really deep feeling, and feeling completely safe. Like this was, just like a wall of energy was around me. And then the ceremony started, and the ceremony involves an offering to the universe, an offering to nature, and an offering to ancestors. So if you've seen any sort of Eastern type of ceremony, there's food and fruit and flowers and wine that are offered to really show your gratitude and your love. And in offering something, we're kind of opening a doorway to receive. And what I felt in the ceremony, I felt an immense gratitude, very, very touched. I think I cried on the first two ceremonies, just feeling this overwhelming sense of gratitude, which I now understand was from my ancestors. And during the whole process, it was a bit up and down. A lot of the time I felt very happy and more energized. Sometimes I would feel more emotion, sometimes anger, sometimes frustration, grief. Different emotions connected to what was being healed for my ancestors. So with this practice, there's an understanding that, you know, we exist as light, love, and energy, the spirit, mind, and body. And during our life, our physical life, then there's a connection of all three. Our spirit, mind, and body exist as one. And at the end of our physical life, hopefully when we're very old and we're ready to go, then our physical body is going back to nature, but our spirit and mind live on. And depending on the state of our mind at the end of our life, that determines the brightness of our spirit. So when we look back at our family and so many generations of ancestors who've lived here and gone, and some who've had a good life, a happy life, a generous life, and they've gone with more light. But for some ancestors who've had a lot of pain, illness, disease, trauma, heavy experiences, and you know, haven't managed to heal that before the end of their life, when they pass on, they still carry these experiences and memories. It exists as a vibration or as energy. And with the spirit and mind together, then the mind is full of, or it's like a recording of our whole life. So if you think of our ancestors who passed away, they're still existing with that vibration. Of course, they have their spirit, which is light, but the mind is connected to that spirit. So through ancestor healing, it's a practice to help the ancestors to receive light and energy so that they can actually heal and remove the heaviness or attachments or whatever pain and problems that they had, so they can become brighter. And through the process of helping our ancestors to become brighter, then the knock-on effect is that, of course, our ancestors are connected to us. So as they become brighter, then naturally we are becoming brighter as well. And we're not carrying the patterns and memories and experiences that they've held for generations. And I really experienced that when I first did ancestor healing. It was generally a happy, positive experience. And I finished the 3 weeks. It takes 3 weeks, 4 ceremonies over 3 weeks. And at the end of it, I felt so much lighter, like a big weight was gone, and it never came back. And now I've done a lot more work ancestrally and had so many different experiences through ceremonies and with Master O and the whole Sun Kyung team in different centers around the world. And it is, I believe, in why I decided to do this work is because I felt, gosh, everybody needs to know about this. There's so much affecting our lives from our ancestors, so much karma that is passed down, and we're living with it without knowing. And so many people now are trying to heal themselves, trying to change, and are feeling like they're hitting this brick wall. And I believe in most cases there's a strong ancestral influence that it just isn't known about. So no matter what type of psychotherapy, no matter what type of treatment you might have, if you feel like, you know, you're hitting that wall and you can't get through it, then I would definitely recommend, you know, having an energy treatment and assessment, because when we give the energy treatments, then we can feel what's happening in your system, where the blockages are, what type of energy blockages there are, and give some guidance and help.
Thank you so much. My goodness, it sounds like you had such a profound experience, and I know mine was the same. I felt like I was suddenly knew who I was without carrying all this weight that I'd been carrying my whole life. And I remember you actually telling me about ancestor healing the first time I remembered I had a pattern that I felt like wasn't mine and I couldn't shift. And you let me read the booklet, and I just started crying immediately when I read it, which I always thought was a sign. And I know, you know, as practitioners, we see people go on such a deep, powerful journey that is kind of beyond our understanding in a way, but we feel it in our spirit. We know that it's making us brighter. And obviously some people have immense physical changes and emotional, mental changes as well. And I'm sure over your 18 years of being a practitioner, you've witnessed so much. So I suppose I firstly wanted to start with the treatment phase. So the key treatment, like you've explained, is using acupressure and sound to really release the deep blockages with the vibration of Qi, which is the vibration from the universe, so pure and so powerful. And our training is to to keep that vibration, so we pass that on to people. My question is, what are the main types of blockages that you find in your clients at that stage, and how do you know when they're related to ancestral issues?
So normally now we're doing a lot of treatments online, so it's slightly different, but pre-pandemic, most of our treatments were hands-on. So when someone lies down on a massage table, then we put our hands on your abdomen to make a connection, but also just to start getting a sense of what's happening in your system. And then we use acupressure, so we're pushing on all the different energy channels and energy points. And when you're pushing on these energy points, you can start to feel where there are blockages, where energy is flowing, where energy is really trapped. And for everybody around the abdominal area, there are always blockages. I've never treated anyone in 18 years who is blockage free. Just varying levels, varying degrees of blockages. And for some people, blockages could be more related to lifestyle. So, are you eating healthily? Are you drinking water? Are you, exercising and getting good sleep? All the things that support your physical body. And so some blockages can be caused by toxic buildup from not moving, or from eating the wrong things. And then on a sort of deeper level, then there are emotional blockages. So on a day-to-day basis, we're constantly thinking, constantly experiencing life. And for some people, there are many emotional triggers in one day. For other people, then maybe there are less emotional triggers, and therefore less emotional responses in the mind and in the body. But if we're constantly dealing with a certain emotion, for example, if someone is angry and they don't really manage to calm down, so there's always an underlying vibration of anger, then the anger is associated or connected to the liver energetically. So then when we treat the body, you can feel a vibration coming from different organs. You can feel where energy is stagnated or where it's vibrating too quickly. And depending on different emotions, then that's affecting different organs. It can be just simply draining energy. If we have a lot of anxiety or a lot of worry or fear, then we're overusing our system and then draining the energy system. So often when we treat people's kidneys, the kidney points at the back, you can either feel very toxic or feel very empty. And then, so there are many different ways in how our emotions affect the energy flow and all the organs in the body. Yeah. And then at a deeper level, there are ancestral blockages or inherited blockages. So when we're born, we are born into our family. And like we look like our parents, we have the same personality traits. There are so many similarities. And we might look at our parents or grandparents and see those similarities. But energetically or spiritually, we're connected to many, many generations of ancestors, and we're born into our family. So we're automatically connected to that ancestral history. And some of that history, like we said before, is positive, and some of it is more negative and heavy. So depending on the state of our ancestors, how they are now, that can create certain blockages within our energy system and affect our physical health, our emotional health, our mental health. And so many people that we've met over the years have been struggling with mental health issues and have been through so many different systems and ways to try to heal, and especially medicine, and having to go through years and years of different medications to deal with mental health issues. But at the end of it, they're still suffering. And we've found that a lot of people, who've gone through ancestor healing have managed to heal and gradually get better. And, for some people even come off of medication so that they can really feel complete and feel whole again and feel that connection to themselves. And I think for a lot of people who, end up taking medication, then it can help to sort of numb different patterns and emotions and feelings. But at the end of the day, they're often still underlying, and it's not actually resolved. So by helping our ancestors to heal, we can actually resolve a lot of deep issues and patterns that we might feel and see within ourselves. We might also see in our siblings or in our parents or grandparents.
Wonderful. I remember it being described as like you kind of lift, you almost lift like the glass ceiling is smashed, or you lift the weight so that you're still left with your own emotions and patterns, but suddenly you're able to make that change rather than being kind of ground down or bound down by those patterns from ancestors. And that's certainly what it feels like after you do it, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you feel more free, but at the same time, I think you can see yourself more clearly. And that's something that I love about this practice as well. There's a lot of work to heal the ancestors, and I think for so many people, it's a wonderful resolution to know, okay, so certain things weren't me. These things that I couldn't understand. There were other influences affecting me, and to feel that sense of freedom and lightness. But at the same time, then being able to see yourself and work on yourself, which sometimes is a rude wake-up call. I think over the years, you know, it's, again, what I love about this practice, if you keep going at it, you have to see yourself, you have to see your mind. And I think on a personal level, yeah, it's shocking sometimes when you see your emotions and your patterns and you think, oh my gosh, that's me. Yeah, you know, I've been doing that for so many years, hurting myself and even hurting other people. And then the freedom and actually being able to change those patterns and really look back with more humor and, you know, being able to smile rather than feeling in the pain or too attached to the pattern and the response to the pattern.
That step of awareness and distancing ourselves from these patterns that we might not like, but they are a part of us, and actually giving love to that darkness or that pattern is a big step, isn't it? And it's like we have the freedom to do that more easily after we start to clear the ancestral karma.
Exactly. Yeah. There were so many things I didn't like about myself, and I think even hated about myself. And if you imagine when you don't like something about yourself, the damage that you're doing to yourselves with your thoughts and the blockages that you're creating for your life, it's debilitating. And to find the way where you can actually love your negativity, love your darkness, love the things that cause you trouble, and give them compassion, and then find gratitude for that process. It's a wonderful thing to do. And I think ultimately, you know, we're here as enjoying a physical life, but ultimately we're spiritual beings. And if we can come to this world and brighten our spirit by overcoming the darkness in our mind, then I think that's successful. You know, that's a successful life, to create light and brighten ourselves.
Beautiful. And so you've been helping people to do that for so long. I'd love to hear a couple of stories about clients who've overcome issues through ancestor healing, and obviously then working on themselves, and your experiences of that. I'm sure there's many, but if you could share a couple with us, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, gosh, there've been so many over the years, and lots of different. I think with this practice as well, it attracts so many different people, different ages, different health conditions. And I think in the early days when I first came across this practice, I was in my early 20s, and there were a couple of young girls, sisters, who actually started at the same time as me. And compared to me, you know, they were dealing with, you know, quite serious health issues. One had chronic fatigue, and the other one was in a wheelchair. And initially, she wasn't really able to get out of bed. She was stuck in bed. I can't remember for how long, but it was a long period of time where she couldn't leave her house. And the family contacted us, and I remember Master O actually going to her house to give treatments. And slowly, she started to be able to, you know, sit up and move around and get around the house a little bit more. And then eventually she managed to start coming to the center with her whole family in a wheelchair. And they spent some time doing the classes, and she would do the movements that she could in the class. And then they started Ancestor Healing all together, the parents and the two daughters. And very, very gradually, you could just see that she started to become brighter and just look a little bit happier. but she'd suffered for quite a long time, so she really hadn't had any energy for quite some years. And I remember the time frame for me, I can't exactly tell you how long it took, but it was certainly not more than 2 years for her to go from a wheelchair to taking her first steps across the training room. And I remember we were all just stood there watching in amazement to see her, someone who hadn't been able to move or walk for a long time, suddenly taking these steps one by one, and you could just see the smile on her face getting bigger, getting bigger. Yeah, I'll never forget that moment. It was
wow.
And more recently, I met a really wonderful lady who had been really trying to help her daughters for, again, some time, quite young daughters, teenagers. And one of them just had low energy, but the other one was suffering with severe mental health issues. She would have attacks and frenzies, and it was taking over the whole life of the family. The younger daughter was affected, and the mother was just constantly taking them to different places to trying to get some help. And she'd taken medication, and that had made her worse. So there wasn't, a resolve from the doctor that they could find. And then I ended up meeting them, and of course the mum was really desperate to help her child, but at the same time she has such a beautiful heart. And I think when you hear about ancestor healing, it's something that isn't always easy to comprehend mentally. It's not always something that you can understand with your brain, but it's something that you can feel with your heart. And I think for me, that's why I jumped in straight away. I felt, oh gosh, this is something incredible for me and my whole family, and that's how you kind of jumped in as well pretty quickly.
For sure.
And it was the same for this lady. She felt something, and she made a decision. Okay, I have to try this. And again, gradually with time, we've seen her teenage daughter go from complete angst, sociophobia, unable to even get in a car to go to school, and to now it's completely turned around. When you see her, she's smiling, she's happy, and she's looking forward to a future without dealing with these mental health issues that were there for some years. So wow. It really shows the impact that our ancestors can have on us, and the damage that can be done, not through the fault of the ancestors. I believe everybody comes to this world and does their best, but unfortunately sometimes our best means we still suffer. And thanks to our ancestors, we're here physically, but they need our help. And I believe really through this practice, it's an incredible, profound and beautiful way to change your life, to help your whole family, and to do something that isn't just for the physical existence. The light of our spirit, the brightness, this lasts forever. And from my understanding, we're here to brighten our spirit so that eventually when we do go, we're in a bright and peaceful, tranquil state. And with that, we can then be a positive influence on our family, our next generations, and even humanity as a whole.
And then life becomes such a gift to be able to do that, doesn't it? The fact that we have a physical body, and when you believe that life is eternal, this time physically isn't long. So we obviously, there's the phrase "live each day as if it's your last," but we can really start to do that when we have a deep connection with our spirit, and we can really follow the path that's meant for us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing here being in Mexico, because number one, the weather is wonderful, of course. But at the same time, it's even during the pandemic, people are still quite active. I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing as far as spreading of the virus, but life is sort of ticking on quite well in many ways. And we've had lots of people coming to the center and really getting involved and really seeing such big changes to their life. So I feel really lucky to be here. When you're involved in this practice, then you just want to share it. So to be in a place where we can keep doing that, it's
yeah. And I meant to mention at the beginning, Leigh-Anne, you started in London, right? But in the last couple of years, she's opened centers in Toronto and New York, and is now in Mexico. So you've helped people in so many parts of the world. It's really really amazing. And I guess that leads me to my next question. What's the best thing about being a Qi practitioner?
The best thing, gosh, yeah, I think absolutely, seeing people get better, seeing people feel happier, seeing people mend their relationships and be able to manage difficulties that they've been dealing with for a long time. And yeah, and then seeing people feel like they can share that love and brightness with others. It's a constant motivation. And it's, yeah, I think with this practice, there's not a day where you don't feel touched. You're constantly people and lives changing, and it's amazing. And I think on a personal level, I think as a practitioner, then we have to keep changing, growing, so that we can give more. And there's no way to avoid that. Whereas I think if I wasn't doing something like this, I would have hidden from my emotions, I would have hidden from my negativity. And I know that would have built up over a long time. So I feel like it's kind of exposing, but at the same time, I think that's good for us.
Yeah, wow. Well, you've been a huge inspiration to me. I'm so grateful for that.
I'll never forget meeting you and your mum in a field in Reading. That was a great day.
And we had all these weird sounds as we were being treated. And then I remember thinking, I hope this is the thing that's going to help me finally. I had quite a lot of fatigue and digestive issues and anxiety. And it really was. And I never thought it would have gone as deep as it has gone over these last few years. And like you say, that opportunity to really grow and change, not just for your own peace of mind and happiness, but to make more space, to allow this light and this energy from the universe to be given to people. It's every day there's challenges, and you see the blockages in the way, but every day, like you say, someone touches your heart, or just giving a treatment and feeling that peace of the vibration we work with is such a joy, isn't it, to do. So
yeah, absolutely. And gosh, I think for humankind, there's always difficulty. There are always traumas of each generation, and that builds up and builds up. And I don't think life is ever easy for anyone. There are always personal challenges and global challenges, but I do really feel lucky to do something that means that I feel I can stay positive and grateful no matter what is happening. Of course, I have my ups and downs, like anybody, but at a deeper level, there's a sense of peace. And yeah, like we'll do our best to overcome whatever challenge comes along. And yeah, I think that's a blessing. So many people are suffering and are stuck in darkness, or are stuck in problems and issues, and through this to have the chance to do something, to be able to reach out a hand and say, hey, there's a lot of light, no matter what has happened in our life, no matter what has happened in our family, there's a way to heal, there's a way to go forward, and to take big steps towards really feeling happiness and peace, and like you can manage anything in your life.
Yeah. Well, that covered my next question. The last one, I want you to sum up your secret to life in a sentence, if you can.
My secret to life, gosh. Yeah, that's a great question.
There's many answers, I'm sure.
I think for me, one thing was to try to not take myself too seriously. I think if you take yourself too seriously, then you're going to deal with the heaviness. But to be able to look at yourself with a smile, I think that's a secret to stay happy and deal with any problem, and probably to try and see the bigger picture. To see the bigger picture of your life, of the world that we're in, and having gratitude for what you have, having gratitude for, if you're feeling really troubled, just finding gratitude for one small thing. Okay, today I can breathe. Today I can take in air. Today my heart is pumping blood around my body. Thank you. And just finding gratitude for you know, I think once you start to feel gratitude for one thing, then you see, oh my gosh, there's another, there's so much to be grateful for. And by practicing that, we can step away from, you know, darkness or getting stuck in emotions and patterns.
Yeah. And we do in our key classes, we do often a gratitude meditation, don't we, to help people open their heart. And I always find leading the classes, I always feel like my heart's trying to be big enough to give this vibration. But I find with clients, it's such an immediate way to open your heart and to start to feel happiness is through gratitude. Because like you say, there's always something you can be grateful for, no matter what is going on, how much pain you're in. And we have to make that choice on a kind of moment by moment basis, simply to feel that gratitude. And then gradually it becomes natural, I find.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, the one thing is we have this incredible tool, which is the energy that we're receiving. And, you know, if you have a certain practice of gratitude in your life and you find that helps, that's wonderful. But personally, I feel like receiving energy and then practicing, you know, working on the mind, it's really, really powerful. And the energy kind of takes you there naturally as well.
Yeah, wow. Gosh, we've received so many pearls of wisdom during this interview, and things that I didn't know. So it was really, really so wonderful to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you. You're working so hard in Ibiza there. You know, you're all alone, and it's not easy to run a centre by yourself. So I hope you get some people coming along to help you soon.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, it's an absolute joy, and I love it every day. So I think all of us doing this work, we've got centres around the world, just for people that don't know, and so we're all doing exactly the same thing, just meeting different people, but trying to share this vibration. That's mainly, most of us have done this because we've come here with some kind of issue that's been resolved in such a profound way that we've given up our previous normal life to do this practice, really. And I just wanted to open up to questions actually now. There's a few minutes left, so if anyone's got a question for Leigh-Anne or for us both, then please, I think you have to raise a hand on reactions, and then I can unmute you. Or maybe you can do it yourself. I think Linda, okay.
Hi.
Hi, Linda.
Hello.
We can't
see. My internet. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, we can see you.
Okay. My internet's a bit
okay.
So you have to tell me if
you're going a bit in and out, Linda. If you want, you can text, you can write your question, and I can read it out. Sorry, Linda, we can't hear you properly. I'm going to get you to write down your question, and I'm going to has a question. Eva, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hello. Can you hear me? Hi.
Hi. Healing.
Oh.
You speak a lot about how we heal the ancestors.
Linda, I thought you were muted, but Linda, if you write down your question, because I think your signal's we can't hear you properly. Okay, Eva, we'll be with you in 1 second.
Okay, yes, I'll do that. Perfect.
I wondered about how the ancestral healing affects the living family members. So, for example, my children and my parents that are still alive, will they also benefit? Or is it only the ones that have already passed on? Would you like to answer that question, Leigh-Anne?
Yeah, sure. Yes. Yeah. Great question. And absolutely, ancestor healing it's directly healing your ancestors. So it's helping your ancestors to become brighter, and then eventually to move to what we would say the light, to move up. And as your ancestors become brighter and they physically separate from you and your family, then the benefit is for everybody. So our ancestors, they have to have a connection to us spiritually, like we're never cutting that connection, but it's the physical bond that's causing issues. It means their vibration is very much interconnected with ours and the whole family. So as you help your ancestors to become brighter and they can then physically separate on the last ceremony, then there's a positive benefit for all the family, who are then no longer influenced by the negative patterns and energy of the ancestors. So absolutely, it's for the people who passed away, but it's for your generation and then all the next generations. And when you've done ancestor healing, your children, they don't have to do it.
Yeah, and I guess we should point out that, you know, if you have something really annoying that one of your parents does, or one of your family members, it doesn't automatically change that, because they also have their own patterns and their own that they need to change, but it lifts the karma from them, doesn't it? So many people see changes in their family, or see that their parents or their children get brighter and look clearer. Yeah, so
absolutely. And I remember, it reminds me of one case some years ago of a lady who'd adopted a child, and the child was out of control and very difficult, and she did ancestor healing for her own ancestors, but she also did ancestor healing for his biological family, so that his ancestors were actually healing and changing, and his behavior changed so much. He became much calmer and much easier to handle. So yeah, there are lots of different scenarios. It's actually really good to have a consultation one-to-one about ancestor healing and about your family, because sometimes, you know, there are variations and then different things that you need to heal as well.
Yeah, and I'll tell you at the end again, but we're going to offer everyone a free ancestor healing consultation if you would like to, and I'll give details at the end about how to do that. There's one more question from Eva. Thank you for your patience, Eva. I'm going to unmute you now.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi.
What's your question?
Actually, so my question actually is, because you said that you are based in Ibiza, and I actually happen to live in Ibiza as well.
Wonderful.
So I just wanted to ask you, where can I find you here?
Well, that's a great question. So the centre is in Sant'Ilaria, and we're actually on the corner of Calle del Mar, which is the street with all the health food shops and the florist and the butcher. Down from Natural Point, which most people know, the health food shop. And then we're on the corner with Calle Rodriguez de Valcárcel, so right by the spa. And there's birds on the windows, and there's
And what's the name of the center? What's the name of it?
It's called Sankyang, which is a Korean, it's because it's South Korean, our practice, and it means beautiful-hearted people living in a beautiful world. We're trying to create. So if you, I'm going to send an email to everyone that's joined this talk, but also you can look on the Instagram, which is @Sankyang Ibiza, and you can message me there, and then you can pop into the center anytime. We're open every day except Sundays. So
super amazing. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. And thanks for your question, Linda. Really, really important one, and good to address. Does anyone else have a question? If you do, you just got to raise your hand on the reactions, which is at the bottom. I don't think anyone else has a question. So thank you so much, Leigh-Anne.
Oh, thank you. Really, really. And I hope to see you soon somewhere. I'm not sure where. Maybe Mexico.
Yeah, hopefully. Who knows? We never know with this work. But yeah, on behalf of everyone that's joined the talk, I want to say a huge thank you. You know, your experience and your depth and your wisdom is just shining out. And yeah, anyone in Mexico or online, I'd recommend you go and have a treatment with Leigh-Anne. They're very, very powerful. And you're doing such wonderful work there with Master O. So you guys, everyone joining the talk, you can, I have given you the Ibiza details. You can also look up Master O, which is Instagram @MasterOLondon. And he is really the pioneer of our practice in the West. And he's doing incredible things with people all over the world and is just non-stop. And Leigh-Anne's working with him there in Mexico, and I've worked with him in Madrid. And you can also book a treatment with him and really experience the power of Qi and of this incredible vibration. So so thank you everyone for joining, and really good to see you here or in some place in the world. All of our treatments and classes we do online, so wherever you are, you can experience this vibration, and it really is powerful online, isn't it? We're finding in this pandemic, people are having huge changes, not even setting foot in a center because it travels through time and space.
Yeah, here